What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey. It is a Thursday evening, so one day later usual, but today we are back for the college football podcast Spring Break. Yes, it is that time of year in college football land now when the spring training gets going. But first, right, I was thinking about this the other day, it's our final show next week for this season, and we have now covered 3 full seasons of college football on this show. Doesn't that seem mental? It seems like just yesterday we started doing this, but we're just at the end of season 3 now. God, how time flies.
Yeah, it must have been 50, 60 plus, I think, episodes now on Wednesday, Thursday, easily. So yeah, it seems like it's only been just like say a year and a half max. But yeah, best part of over 3 years, like say nearly, of covering like say the college sports, and like yeah, it's flown by. A lot's happened in that time, and the college football. It seems like it feels like it's changed a lot in just a short period of time.
Exactly, and it's going to keep changing, and we're going to have a little chat about that today. So basically, we are in the middle of draft season right now. We are doing a lot of draft related content. As you know, you saw us last Saturday. We had Gerald Huggins on for our HBCU show. If you've not seen that, go check it out. You get the insight into the mind of a scout, a guy who's been to the Shrine Bowl and talks about HBCU football. It was nice to talk about a little different section of the draft there. And today we thought, well, why not? Let's talk about college a bit, because this is a college football show. And when it gets to this time of year, it kind of starts to merge into a draft podcast as well. But we are here to do a college stuff. So we're just going to have a little chat about really what's been going on in college football world, spring training, some of the new transfers, some of the new recruiting class, sorry, who are coming in, and some of the stories that have been going on, the changes of the playoffs and all that, just to break things up a little bit. And then next week, we will be doing our finale, where me and Ryan, we've got something fun planned for you. I'm just going to say that for now. We will come back to that when we do. But yeah, anyhow, let's just give a shout out to everyone who's in. Brent DeWitt is in the building, and he's dropped us a $20 super chat. Thank you ever so much, Brent. We really, really appreciate that. He goes 15-0 national champions. Go Blue. Go Army, beat Navy again. Yes, what a year if you are a Michigan and an Army fan. Get the bragging rights over it all. Good stuff there. Carlton Wood's in the building. Bob O'Land's in the building. Hope you are all doing well. And I will get onto Twitch as well at some point just to shout out everybody in there. Yeah, let's just get all the housekeeping out of the way, and then we can crack on with this. So Roar of the Lions UK Discord, if you want in, let us know. We'll send you a link. Our main podcast. Previous Monday, we were talking about offensive line prospects. No, we weren't. We were talking about wide receiver prospects in the 2024 draft. So if you want to go and check that out, please do so. And then the upcoming show this week, it will be our Lions 7th round mock draft, where we all put forward our plan as to what we would do, who we would pick in the upcoming draft. It's one of our favorite shows. We get to do that. And then the week after, we do our first round mock. So it's going to be mock season big time there. Don't forget to like and sub to everything: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's project to bring together all of the creators in YouTube land together in one good app. And don't forget, we're an affiliate, we're monetized on YouTube, all that good stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just love having you all in the building. Right, got that all out the way. If you've got any questions regarding the draft or anything you want to ask us tonight, you can throw that in there as well. But first, let us dive down into a little bit of news. Where are we? So let me get my thing right. So yes, as we said, in college football land right now, spring training, Ryan, one of the most important times of the year for college teams. The draft may be coming, but in terms of college football land, that's done. It's out the way. A new season is started, and already this is when some of the most important action in the season happens. So basically what happens is college teams, they get a 34-day window in the spring where they get to hold a maximum of 15 spring practice days, which includes a final spring game, which is basically one big intra squad game where they all, they break off into two teams. They have a game against one another, and then everything happens for that. But basically, right, this is one of the most important times in the year of college football. Your new high school recruits are going to be seeing the field for the first time. These are quite up-tempo, upbeat sessions. This is simulating what college football games are going to be like in the long run. Obviously, all your new transfers are in, whether you've got a new head coach, new coaching staff. This is where you've got to start meshing it all together. And this is where you start to see maybe some of the players that are going to break out next year. You see squad battles break out, quarterback roles change hands. It's a quite fun time to be a fan of a college football team right now.
Yeah, this is a crucial time for me, quarterbacks, I suppose kickers, punters. Do you know where you've only got basically got one starting position on the team right now? Spring is probably where those battles will happen. But also, like I say, for your tight ends, your wide receivers, it's building chemistry because nearly all teams, or majority of them, are bringing in new quarterbacks. Whether it's that's transfer, or like I say, that's fresh kids at high school that have just enrolled, maybe just got on campus. This is their first time being in college, away from home. They may have crewed across state, or they've tried to transfer their credits over to new schools, so they could be trying to catch up with studies, trying to get enrolled, or if they've get any trouble enrolling, trying to get in camp. So for right now, the transfers, I'd say it's probably the most difficult time adjusting. Or like I say, if you're coming fresh out of high school, your first year in college, like I say, that's like going from like say your A levels to university in the UK. It's the first time you've moved out, first time you probably don't live with parents. You're cooking your own meals, you're making your two-way to and from school, and you're also basically playing a semi-professional sport to make things life even harder. So yeah, and coaches as well. Like I say, this is where your time where your defensive coordinators, your offensive coordinators, they have it hard. They have all this turnover every year. They're trying to just learn people's names right now, let alone try to get them to call players and learn books. So yeah, spring game, and then where like I say when they do the t-shirts v bibs or skins v bibs game where they just throw in a colour each, like you don't want to hurt each other, but you've also it's like the last real kind of practice before you get into like say a break before season starts. So yeah, you've got to go fairly hard.
Yeah, so this is where guys start fighting for their roster depth and trying to establish the hierarchy before, like say, they have the break, and then you get into summer and fall training when the real hard stuff starts just before the season. But at the moment, most teams are in spring training period now. Most of the spring games are this month. There's been a couple already. I think Mizzou's like one of the biggest ones, but the vast majority of them are still to come. So one of the first shows we'll do when we come back next year is to sort of take in spring training as a whole and the games and see what's gone off there. But we will, as I say, take a look at some of the early emerging storylines today as well. And yeah, we'll go through that in a little bit. But we're going to go through some college football news first. Which one other thing to mention about spring period, NIL, right? We talked with Gerald about this the other day. It has this big thing, but there is a spring transfer portal as well, the 16th of April to the 30th. You have this 2-week period where if guys don't like what they're doing, if they don't like where they're at, where they've been treated, or if big teams have holes on the roster and suddenly they decide they want to sling some money around to fill it, this could be kind of interesting, this portal period. Hayes Fawcett's already said, keep your eyes open. There's going to be some big ones, but we're going to see the next evolution of NIL and what it does, because usually players don't transfer now. They like to stay solid in the team they're at. They've committed. All this stuff's gone off, but I don't know. You may see a few fireworks this year when it comes to that portal.
Yeah, it's difficult because before NAL, like you say, you'd probably just do the quarterback battle. You'd win, you'd lose, you'd probably sit on the roster maybe for the year and then try win the job, or if you go down the injury, step in. But with NIL now, when they've signed sponsorships and deals, they can't really afford to not play or not start. So you're going to see, basically players right now, the ones that are not willing to stick around and fight for a job, they're going to jump ship. And I'm not a fan of, I don't think you should be allowed to. I think if you've enrolled at a school in spring, it's not unfair on the team. It's also not fair on the school. Like they've literally got you in like credits, like they've probably got you signed up to classes and all that, probably like balance their books and done funding. So if you were to just leave, like you say, and then you try to transfer credits to another school, it's all way too complicated over my head. Like I say, in the UK, that's just not a thing. You don't just leave a university and then like next week, I don't know, I fly to Wales and say, oh, can I come to Cardiff? Because I didn't like it. Someone was mean to me at Kingston, London. Like, yeah, it's there's too much freedom and there's too much ease of movement in college. And like I say, with NIL, it's probably way worse than it's ever been.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to see how that gets affected. Say that opens up on the 16th in about 12 days, and it's a 2-week window for guys to maybe jump ship there. Anywho, let's just go through some bits and bobs first. So in terms of next season, we mentioned how the game is changing, and now we can finally say for certainty what is happening with the college football playoffs. They change. That's probably one of the biggest changes coming next year. Obviously, up until this point, it's been 4 teams, highest ranked 4 teams by the College Football Playoff Committee, which generates a ton of debate and heated arguments every year. Well, this is the year where it finally changes. So, for those who are unaware of the new format, the College Football Playoffs, it's changing to 12 teams instead of 4. So, those 12 teams are going to be, for this season, comprised of the 5 highest ranked conference champions, and that can be any conference. No conference as of yet gets an automatic bid. So if by some miracle or luck, 2 group of 5 champions were to find themselves ranked above a Power 4 champion next season, they would both get in automatically on buys. The 4 highest ranked champions do get a buy into the quarterfinals. The 5th will be allocated a game according to wherever their final seed is. So just 4 guaranteed buys here. The 7 other teams, they will be the highest ranked teams after the conference champions. There's no limit per conference, so it will be pure seeding that decides it. So 5 conference champions, 7 highest ranked teams afterwards. As I say, 4 teams get buys. For the other teams, it will go as such. You will get a first round where 5th plays 12th, 6th plays 11th, 7th plays 10th, and 8th plays 9th in terms of seedings. The 4 winners will then move on to face the 4 bye teams in a quarter-final format. The quarterfinals and the semi-finals will become the new Year's 6 bowl games. So instead of qualifying for that criteria, the New Year's 6 are going to be the quarterfinals and semi-finals of the new playoff format. They will rotate around on an annual basis, so all the bowls get a chance to be a semi-final. So your Cure Bowls, all that sort of stuff. Every year you'll get a different New Year's 6 bowl, 2 different New Year's 6 bowls as the semi-finals. Whoever gets the number 1 seed in the quarterfinals, they will face the winner of the 8th versus 9th place game. It's the best chance of picking the lowest ranked team left. I mean, if you were to play them against the 5th and the 12th, the 1 seed would likely then play the 5 seed, whereas in this game, they get to play the 8th at most. So then the 4th seed will play the 5th versus 12th winner, and so on and so forth. Same format for the semi-finals, and the final will continue to be played at a neutral site from there on. So there's a lot to take into the equation there. This year, so the first round gets played on December the 20th and December the 21st, my birthday. So I get birthday college football. Quarterfinals are played December the 31st and January the 1st. The semi-finals are played January the 9th and January the 10th. And the Natty is played on January the 20th. So that's Hula Bowl week. So it gets later there, but the new era is here, Ryan. The 12-team college format. This is going to change again in a couple of years, but for the next couple of years, this is how it's going to be now.
Everyone knows I don't like it. It should have gone to 6 or 8 teams, and we should have just had a wild card or a round 1. It's how they've made it so complicated, and the fact that it's so many seedings, like literally, could we see 7 or 8 teams from the SEC? Like, it's potential, and it worries me. And also, it really does impact on the draft, doesn't it? It feels like we're going to get to a point now where basically, I think after this year, I think they'll be forced to move the Hula Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the Combine. I reckon that's all going to move back a couple of weeks. If you're going to have a whole 5 weeks of playoffs, but on the flip side, all the teams that qualify for playoffs don't make a bowl game. So a lot of other teams that don't play in bowl games often, there's going to be a lot more spots open, isn't there? Because like I said, there's usually like 30, 40 to 44 bowl games. Like say you've got 8 more teams in the playoffs. I'm presuming if they lose, they won't make a bowl game.
No,
I don't know when the bowl games will be now. Well, the bowl games all have been played.
But the bowl games run concurrently, so they start about the 20th of December. So they'll start when round 1 starts, really. So the bowl games they'll be played during bowl game season. Obviously, the one thing now is, no group of 5 spot for the New Year's Six, because the New Year's Six is going to be the quarter and semi-finals. So, the group of 5 champion is no longer going to get a spot in one of the more prestigious, unless they get into one team will get into the playoffs, but whether they get through that first round or not remains to be seen. But yeah, that's the format. You're gonna have about a month's break, I guess, 3 weeks break, and then the playoffs are going to kick in. Like you say, I think it's going to change draft season because you'll have players playing up till the 20th of January potentially. They're not going to want to go straight into combine season right away, are they?
No, and this year will tell us a lot because let's see. You get people opt out of bowl games. Will anyone dare opt out of let's say, will the 12th team against the 6th? The 6th team, like say in that first round, will the 12th team be like, their players be like, this is just a bowl game. I don't want to risk getting hurt for the draft. If that start happening, then a 12-team playoff can't continue for the future. Will they cut it down to 8? Or is this a precedent where basically we're saying, in a few years, we're going FCS style, we're going 20 plus teams, but we're going to get automatic bids. I think, this year is going to dip in their toe in the water. It'll either go really well or somehow this will turn out to be an absolute disaster. And I'm not sure which one of them it'll be, but I don't see any middle ground.
You kind of had a bit of a sidekick hat on there because Mike just asked the same question. I hope you're doing all right, Mike. He goes, how many key players are going to opt out of bowl games? Like specifically, I guess the draft eligible ones. Like if you get a Marvin Harrison Jr., is he going to want to? I mean, as if it's for the natty, right? But if you're playing through a quarterfinal or a first round game or that, I guess, do you hold yourself out until the end? Could that happen? Like, I guess if you opt out one game, you've got to opt out that. I mean, maybe they could do that. If you're a 5th place team, and you're a conference champion playing against a 12th ranked team who's just a lot weaker than you, could you tactically rest your starters until later on and they decide, actually, you know what? I want to play in the big games.
Oh, that would really ruffle some feathers, and that would really bother me. Honestly, if I'm a head coach and I'm saying, if you don't want to play the quarterfinal, you don't play in the natty, pal. Like, you don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Like, say, this is where it's going to get really interesting because now it's tactical in it. So, we're going to see people faking injuries. We're going to see like, oh, he's sick. He can't play this week because he's got a little tinge. Like, saying he wants to rest up for an extra week and he's going to come in at the semi-final stage. Like, I suppose they're not going to be able to tell teams like, if a player opts out, or they're out of the playoffs. They don't have that much power, but I don't know. You're going to get a lot of, I don't like it. It's not cheating, but you're going to get a lot of gamesmanship here, aren't you? It's going to be like
agents doing this, that, and the other. And the other thing to consider, what about staff? Because like the college football season ends at the end of November, and that's when most of the coaches get fired. If you've got 12 teams who are still like competing in the playoffs, they're not going to want to lose their offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinators or like, because
this goes through now, isn't it? If
all the way to
you can't speak to their staff, can you? Like say, well, as long as they're still in the playoffs, they're like, sorry, you can't interview them.
But college teams aren't going to want to wait until like mid-January from November to make hires for players because then You've got your December recruiting classes, which are your big ones for your future high school recruits and for next year. Like that's when all the work has to be done with staff. So it adds another layer of maybe not just do players opt out, but staff. Because what happens if you lose your OC and DC to a program and you're like, oh God, I've got no coordinators left? That could be a pain as well.
I don't think they've thought this through, I'm honest. I think they've rushed it in, haven't they? They were only talking about a year ago, and now it's basically here. Like I say, it's going to be interesting to see
Well,
how this pans out.
it's pretty much getting bumped up to 14. I think in 2026 this all changes. We're going to get 2 years of this, and then it's going to change again because I think conferences are going to want automatic bids and stuff like that. And of course, collapse of the Power Five is going to change the dynamic as well. So, but anyhow, yeah, the new era of the college football
For
playoffs
me,
is here.
what I wanted was if it's going to be 12, I would go FCS. I would say every FBS division gets a champion. Like I say, yeah, do you know what? Every FBS division, like I say, gets an automatic bid. And I don't care, like I say, if you get the SEC via the Sun Belt in round one. That I'm fine with that. And then have a handful of other teams, committee picks them. Because I do like the kind of like the whole week where like the committee is like making terrible choices or like, do you know, the it can be crazy, can't it? Like you say, when who they're picking in the top four. I like that when people lose their heads.
Yeah,
And we're not going to get a lot of that now, are we? Like I say, because their rankings, like you say, they're kind of just, they're going to hold strong.
yeah.
You're not going to see many drastic changes, are you, in like last few weeks of the season? Because they won't want to kind of screw up their playoff seedings. So this is the chance for the Ole Misses, the LSUs, the A&Ms, the NCUs, Clemson. Like I said, this is their only ever realistic chance of winning that. Ole Miss this year will be the team to watch, like I say, because you look on paper, they'll pretty much guarantee to be in the playoffs, like I say. And then let's see what damage they can do then. There'll be someone really eager to watch. So yeah, it's should be interesting.
Oh God, have you just seen Discord? SB Nation is cutting their podcast program as of effective immediately. So that's Pride of Detroit podcast. I oh God, that's huge. I feel sorry for that. I hope that they'll survive. They'll survive. But
I hope they go independent. Yeah,
yeah, Pride of Detroit, they're awesome, those guys. Yeah, they're good enough. They'll get through that. But yeah, big news. They're cutting their podcast program, which includes PODcast, which is a shame. But yeah, those guys are great at what they do. They will get through that. Anyhow, let's move on with our bit. So the other thing in college football world, the minute, and this is what is getting so playoffs. That's going to be the format for next year. The other thing that's been discussed in the last few days is the possibility of a college football super league. And, you know, us as soccer fans, we have been faced with the prospect of super leagues and stuff like that at the big level for us. But let me just tell you a little bit about how this would work. So there are a lot of people in high places, let's say, who are wanting to change up the entire landscape of the college football world. So the conference in under the new Super League format that they would have, the conferences would fold. The playoff system, which is just getting put into place, will go extinct. In their place, what they are suggesting is a league with 70 fixed teams and 10 others that would be subject to relegation and promotion from the remaining 60 schools. The Super League would have 8 10-team divisions with the division winners and 8 wildcards qualifying for a 16-team playoff. So essentially, it's kind of taken a pro-style format in some cases, but this is very, very much in its early stages at the moment. But like, we know what this is about, right? Relegations, promotions, tiering systems. We've seen it in football here. Me and you support lower league teams who are never going to be able to get back to the top of where we are or what we want to do because tiering creates tiers of financial wealth as well as power. I mean, I would hate to see college football take this system on going forward. I know the conference system is flawed and they probably need to do some work rejigging it and reformat it and everything, but a Super League is not the way to go.
So 70 teams, but we have 100 and what, 33 teams in the FBS.
So a lot would probably have to go. Yeah. Well, no, 70 and then 70 are fixed teams who always play up there
And then
and
it's
they
10.
and then
Yeah.
60 are subject to relegation. So the 10 worst of those 60 teams would be relegated. So there would be a threshold where you're safe, but for the bottom half, which I would guess be majority of your group of 5 teams right now, your power 5 teams mainly be secure, but your group of 5 teams will be subject to promotion relegation. I assume with they do something with the FCS in that case, but I
It's
just
the SBS teams in the first year that
yeah,
they're getting promoted.
I just don't like. I hate tiering systems because I know what it's done to football in this country. It's the wealthy thrive and everyone else dies. And I just don't want to see college football take this format. They need to refigure the conference system for me, but this would be bad.
Having a Super League, but then having conferences, doesn't that defeat that defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it? Like say, because you're going to then what? But how they're going to do? I suppose they have to be regionally. Like,
Yeah.
but then what's the point in combining them all in the first place if you're just going to have them in regional groups? Like,
And you're probably going to spread it out so that like the top teams are in separate conferences so they can all get to a playoffs and then it will be structured in a way where like Georgia and Bama don't play each other in a conference or something like that. They'll get to the playoffs so they can both go there. And it seems folly. Like again, I just hate tiering systems because you like we've seen it in this country, haven't we? Your Bradford City used to be a Premier League team back in the day. Back when money wasn't a thing, they have a massive fan base. If you can put a good team together, you can be a Premier League level. Now, simply, you don't have the money. The players get hoarded because in this case, if you're a draft prospect, who are you going to want to play for? You want to go play for a safe team, not a team where you can get relegated. This will mean that there'll be a talent drain to the top and those below will suffer, and there'll be a financial drain to the bottom. These small colleges won't stand a chance because they're hoarding it all at the top.
yeah, and also then like 20 teams in the middle. You're not worrying about relegation, but you're not fighting for playoffs. And there's like I say, well, what are they doing? Like I say that they're basically going to be, with no disrespect, they're going to be the Crystal Palaces. People don't know what that means, but like I say,
Yeah.
like I say teams like that, like the Fulhams, like I say that yeah, like they're playing football for the sake of football. That's pointless, isn't it? I mean, presume like I say you're going to get rid of bowl games. Like I say I don't see how I'd have them because like I say you won't have winner of players runner up of because yeah, all that screams just stupid money, and yeah, it just won't work.
And would you play
Like,
cross? Could you play cross conferences? What would happen to rivalry games? Do you keep those? This kind of what I love about college football. I love the system where they can have an out of conference schedule where they can do all the rivalry games, small games, stuff like that, and then it's competitive. I just think it needs to change in terms of they need conferences. They just need to get fundamentally organized ones with the right teams in there, the right balance, back to how it used to be instead of just finicky ideas like this.
yeah, like I say, right now, college football is in a mess. Like I say, it's in a bad way. I think
Yeah.
that's not the answer. Like you say, they need to go back to an old school. Like you're in these conferences, no, you can't move for this X amount of time. You're not buying yourself out, like you say, but we'll give everyone fair TV deals. Like, yeah, like I say, it's going to have to start with the resurrection of the Pac-12. I don't know how you do it, but realistically, that has to be the first step. You need to go back to 5 power conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's an idea at the minute, but if you're over there, like vehemently oppose this, we can tell you right now that system doesn't work and it just creates a load of unfairness. So hopefully that's something that will get canned, but money talks. So we will see with that one. And yeah, like Mark says, alumni associations will be affected, all sorts. Like this will be a loss for the kids as well. Like, just keep it how it is. Just refine it a little, but just keep it how it is. Right, moving on. Other bits. So, a couple of team moves and stuff that are coming up for the new 2024 season. So, obviously, we have a new team making the trip up this year. Obviously, FTS teams making the jump up have been more frequent as of late. And the CUSA is going to get a new team this year. Kennesaw State, the Owls, are gonna make their way up. They're a relatively new program, been around since 2015. Only had one head coach. But yeah, the Kennesaw State Owls are incoming.
They're an enigma, aren't they? Like you said, they're a fledgling franchise. Well, I'd say, pardon the pun, but it is a bird pun, so it works perfectly. Fledgling. But yeah, I don't know a lot about them. They've not been around a long time. And the fact that it just went from 5,000 to 5 million, and it didn't put them off because they were the first team to play the application. Bold. A very bold move, I must say, because they must have some wealthy boosters or quite a wealthy athletic department to muster up that kind of cash to take a roster that sounds very inexperienced and then mix with the big boys. Honestly, I applaud it. That is bravery of the highest order. The CSA right now is pretty competitive. And I know we've seen recent years, like say, we've seen 2 or 3 teams make the jump up and have hit the ground running pretty quickly, but they were established at the FCS level. And I know Kennesaw State in recent years have been good, but they've not been around the block that long. So yeah, I honestly have no idea what to expect for them. And that is quite interesting, actually. I think everyone's going to have an eye on them. You kind of, I'm instantly rooting for them. Like I say, it's a bold decision to take the step up. And yeah, like I say, if they do make the decision, then I think I don't know if I'm not sure why the committee decided to bump the money up. It can't have been to put teams off because they were getting so few applications anyway. If it was to make the money, like I say, it didn't put this team off. Are we going to see even more make the jump? Are the FBS then suddenly going to panic that they're going to lose their best teams? I'm not sure. I think we're right on the precipice right now. Like I say, will we see in a year or two a mass exodus? And the committee just rubs its hand gleefully, the NCAA, of all the 5 million fees it's taking. Where's this money going to as well? What's it being invested in? Is it being invested in students? Like, how's it being divvied out? What's it for? That's what I'd like to know.
So I believe a lot of it is because the TV deal they get with the CUSA is pretty substantial. So I believe they're taking it out of what they're getting out of the TV deal for a part of it anyhow. But during the summer we will do our conference previews, and the CUSA is usually one of the first we do. So you will hear about the Kennesaw State Owls sooner or later. What I will say though is Brian Bohannon, their head coach there, he's been there 9 years. He is a disciple of the spread offense, and spread offense creates exciting football. So we'll get to see them in action very soon. And then the other little news of note regarding team movement that we've had since the end of the season, which we've not quite discussed yet, the MAC, Ryan, UMass is going UMAC as the number of independent teams dropped to after next season. In 2025, UMass are going to join the Mid-American Conference, and they get a new, they're going to find a home. Maybe they'll be able to become relevant again now they have a conference home.
Yeah, I'm all for this. Expanded playoffs as well. Notre Dame, this is their route in as well, in at the independent teams, because they can be one of the highest ranked sides. So it's going to be interesting to see as well, like say, with people joining conferences and that for expanded playoffs in the future, like if they do decide to take the plunge. So, yeah, but no, UMass, like I said, the last few years have been very up and down. They've been turbulent times. They've been looking for a home. Obviously, they're going to lose that whole, we can do our own schedule, but they're going to fall in line, like say, a bit more rigid, a bit more structure. I think it's right for them, like I say, they can share a TV deal, they can get familiar opponents, they may do a bit better at pulling some transfers in from other MAC sides, like say, and right say we saw last year the MAC. It's one of those, like say, it's fairly wide open. Like say, in the last couple of years, we've seen the likes, like say, Northern Illinois, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, like say, sides like that have all at some point kind of made their claim. Like say, got Ohio's got teams like that. So yeah, it's very spread out. It's a fun conference to watch, and I feel like for a team still trying to find its feet, it's probably not the worst one to join. Like I say, they may take some growing, there may be some growing pains, but I think ultimately it's better. I feel like we're leaning towards the future where independency is a dying art. Like I say, are they ever going to make them all join conferences? I don't know, but it feels like at some point it's kind of going to happen. As conferences fall apart and they need teams, there are teams ready and available.
Yeah, I think UMass will be a good addition to the MAC. I think just a little bit of juice added to it. And like I say, might give them a home. They might be able to start recruiting a bit better now instead of being out in the wilderness. But we will see with that. So that's everything in sort of team movements we've really seen. So let's kind of move on to sort of the bread and butter of this now. So as we mentioned, spring training is the first big part of the year where you get to see a lot of guys for the first time, where you get to see how rostered depth charts and everything are starting to shake out. But this is the first time we get to see a lot of the new recruits in high school, right? And as always, there are some great prospects flooding into the game at this point, and there's just a few of them, sort of the higher ones, just wanted to point out to sort of acquaint you with. But maybe the most famous one of them all this year, and he's already creating rave scenes around. We know Ohio State is wide receiver U. It's going to have like a top 3, top 4 pick this year with Marvin Harrison Jr. They have a stupid amount of talent on that team. Ibuka is going to be the wide receiver 1 this year. Carnell Tate, all these guys like this. But this year heralds the arrival maybe of one of the most special guys they've seen in a long time. And of course, you'll know this. Jeremiah Smith has finally landed in Ohio State, and what an impact he's been making on that team. I mean, this kid, his build for where he's at, he is a true freshman. He is 6'3" and 214 pounds already at receiver, and they say this guy can bulk up more, but he's in camp already. And at Ohio State, he's already lost his black stripe on his helmet. So for those who don't know with Ohio State, when you're a rookie, you have a black stripe on your helmet and you're not able to have the full Ohio State helmet until you as a rookie prove yourself worthy of losing it and gaining the full thing. He's lost this already. They've not even had their spring training game, but like, right, at his frame, at his size, his vertical vert, this is just one of the highest wide receiver prospects in a long time. And my God, Ohio State have a brand new weapon on their hands, as if they already needed one in the receiving game.
Yeah, this kid is looking to be what Luther Burden was when he came as a freshman. He wants to be that instant impact, like I said, and he's coming out of high school, like I say, and he's already built like he's ready for the NFL. Like, what does he feed these kids? Like, they're 13, 14 years old. They've already got them on like nutrition plans. They're already benching like 100, 150 kilos. They're squatting in the hundreds, the 200, 300s. Like, it's mental. But yeah, it was very brave. Like I say, the fact he's picked a school that's got question marks around quarterback after seeing their starter, like I say, last year hit the portal. It's a brave decision, like I said, to go in there with, like, say, he's going to be. He didn't know probably when he decided to commit who was going to be throwing in the ball this year, but I don't think it's going to matter. Like I say, he is joining a team that has just lost its star, and yeah, obviously it lost its backup as well. Like I say, Julian Fleming, like I say, gone. So the targets are going to be there, and like I say, he's competing with Ibuka, but yeah, he could go out there and be straight up trying to win an award this year for best wide receiver in the nation. Yeah, they just reload again at the position. And yeah, he's going to come in, he's going to make instant splash plays as a rookie. The new introduction of the 5+ stars of, like, say, Ryle 24/7, that, like, we've seen a lot of them be wide receiver in this class, and a lot of them look like they're going to be super talented.
Yeah, and they say that Ohio State room, there's a lot of talent in it. Obviously, Will Howard was the transfer, Kansas State. He's the starter. He's gone there. But then, obviously, they flipped Julian Soyen. He's one of the highest rated quarterback prospects in the country. He's now on campus. And apparently, these two are having a right old ding-dong between them as to who's going to. I mean, you'd think Will Howard is the veteran experienced starter and he might get it, but again, at quarterback, they are quite loaded as well. Potentially, Will Howard, if he's got that wide receiver core to throw at and they protect him, he'll put up some yards.
Yeah, I liked Will Howard. I loved what he did Kansas State in the last 2.5 years. Very potent offense. One of the better fringe teams in the nation, just outside like what you'd say the top 10, 15 now. They were there or thereabouts. And didn't really have a star, did he? Like he didn't really have a star wide receiver. Like he had a good solid core to work with, and he had a really strong run game. Like I say, now he's got a potentially super strong run game. Like I say, look at who they just got out of the portal. Like you said, to be with Trayvon Henderson, and now he's got star wide receivers. If it all comes together for Will Howard this year, we will be talking about him as a potential sleeper in the class of 2025. I feel like I say, I think this is the perfect move for him. And then Julian saying, I was quite excited, like say, when I thought he would be the future for Bama, like say, or the heir apparent Jalen Monroe. But yeah, he decided he saw an opening that he can try compete for. And he's a 4-star quarterback himself. I believe he was in like Elite 11 camp a couple of years ago. So he's been up there with some of the best in the nation. So yeah, they're set for now. They're set for potentially next year and the future going forward. So yeah, I'd say they've replenished their stock pretty well.
And they got Quidshon Junkins at running back.
Exactly. Like Trayvon Henderson, Quidshon Judkins, Ibuka, like say new receivers, like say quarterbacks, like say lost Caleb Downs. Obviously that hurts, but no, picked up Caleb
Oh no, they
Downs
picked
as
up
well.
Caleb Downs as well.
So they picked up a 5-star safety. Like, I don't know. Is this going to be the year for Ryan Day? Is this about to come together for Ohio State this year? Is this the year they make their mark?
I mean,
On paper, you've got to say that he's got to. If he fails against this type of talent, then like you show him his marching orders. Because like I say, this team is supremely talented right now.
Oh God, yeah. And it's all on that offensive line, really, because they've got everything else. But yeah, the arrival of Jeremiah Smith there is one for big excitement going into year. Like I said, they've got 2 or 3 guys already who are already established. Ibuka's going to be the one to watch this year, obviously. He started off on kick returns. He's amazing. He's going to be a great player. But Jeremiah Smith is a name to watch out for there in terms of other big recruits coming in this year. So in terms of the quarterbacks, going to be one. Lions fans might take an interest in this as well, but Dylan Raiola, son of our Dominic Raiola, back from his days as playing center here, he, of course, famously, meant to be going to Georgia, flipped by Nebraska, his dad's alumni campus, and like he's going to a program with Matt Rule now where it is Rule at Nebraska. Yeah, I'm getting the right thing, but he's hit the ground running there, and they don't really have a bona fide starter. Their junior who played last year, I think he threw 7 picks, fumbled it 13 times, like tons of turnovers. There's nothing guaranteed there, but Dylan Raiola, he's hitting the Cornhuskers camp hard.
Yeah, Raiola and well, there's 2 quarterbacks that are on current rosters right now that I think could take the league by storm this year that are not well. Is he a redshirt freshman?
He's just coming in. He's a high school.
Yeah.
He's a true freshman.
Yeah, like I said, it's him and like I say, he quite expensive. But yeah, Dylan, it's interesting. Like I say, he's picked the school. Like I say, it's not just an easy in for him. Well, no, actually, it is an easy in, but also he's got ties. And we know Matt Rule at the college level. Like, he's not bad, is he? Like you say, like, but before the Panthers took him, he was doing a really good job in college. He's supposed to do really good with young quarterbacks as well. Like saying, good offensive minds. Like Matt Rule, for all intents and purposes, is a solid coach at the collegiate level. And Nebraska, in the recent years, have had some weapons. Like I say, it didn't all come together with Casey Thompson, but injuries didn't help. They have been able to attract good quarterbacks. They do have good play. Like, I feel like there's minimal pressure on him to succeed straight away. Because, like I say, Cornhuskers fans, they're just not going to put a lot of pressure on him because they know right now they don't want to scare him away. Biggest player they've recruited in a long, long time, so they can't afford to hurry him into the portal. So, yeah, this year I'll have limited expectations, but he could quickly surpass them. And then going forward in the future, if he can then bring in some better recruits, some better transfer portal talent that want to play with him, and they see the Nebraska Cornhuskers going in the right direction, then the next, not just this year, the next 2 or 3 years could be very bright And like you say, yeah, a lot of Lions fans, like you say, Dominic, they will be keeping their eye on him. Like you say, because he's a big kid, he's talented. Like you say, he's got arm, he's got the frame ready to fill out. Could be ready to take the country by storm. And sleepy old Nebraska might not be sleepy old Nebraska for the next couple of years. They could be a potential outlier in that Big Ten. So it's going to be fun to watch.
He is, and like I said, this is very talented class who's coming in regarding the quarterback position. But the top rated recruit, and he wasn't up until so long ago, but he's gone to Florida. DJ Lagway, he's the 6'2", 220-pound dual threat guy. He is the highest decorated recruit in Florida history since Tim Tebow. Now, we're going back a long time since Tim Tebow was in college, but Napier, they've got a tough old schedule next year. Graham Mertz is there this year, so you figure he's going to carry it on. But DJ Lagway, you take one look at him and he's built like an NFL quarterback. And there's a reason he's the #1 recruit in the nation. But again, everybody raving about him at spring training and how well he's doing. Like, this could be the start for Florida as well this year that they need.
Now, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure, did DJ Lagway win the Gatorade Award for the top high school player this
I
year?
believe
I
so,
think,
yes.
didn't he? Yeah, that's like the Heisman for high school. Like, that is a super prestigious award. Like, and yeah, honestly, if he maybe after a couple of games beats out Graham Mertz and takes over for the rest of the season, I would not be surprised. If anything, I would be encouraging. If their season at any point tails off, I'd probably just say, Graham, you've only got a few games left in your career. Like I say, I'm sorry I have to do this to you, but DJ's the future. Like I say, and we're going to have to do it. And yeah, but for the Gators, yeah, this is huge. Like I say, the last few years, even with when they had Anthony Richardson, there was just no traction. There was no momentum. Best players have been and gone. Princely, Uman, Malum, the star edge, like I say, just left. Like I say, potential first round, like I say, and like I say, gone to an SEC rival. Like I say, we've seen Ricky Pearsall came in, star, hit the draft. Like I say, guys have come in and they've just not been able to stick around because they've had little eligibility left, and it's just not come together. And I loved Billy Napier, what he was doing. Like I say, before that, he went there and he's had a shell of a roster to work with and he's brought in transfer players, but it's just nothing sustainable. This could be the start. If you can keep DJ Lagway there and he lives up to the potential, then the next few years, like I say, for the Gators, we could see the old Gators where players and teams fear going to the swamp because they don't right now. And the crowd don't intimidate them because it's very easy to get them to turn on their own team. So yeah, college football is better when the Gators are better. I've always thought that because they're just a great program. And DJ, I'm a truther. I think it could be, but he needs the weapons and he needs the all lines. Like I say, he can't do it on his own, but it's the start.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of quarterbacks coming in, those some of the highest rated one. You might not see them straight away, but every chance that you will do at some point during the season. Staying on the offensive side of the ball now, teams that want to be good this year that could have been good maybe, but that a lot of people want to see good. Colorado, obviously Deion Sanders going into year 2, they're moving to the Big 12. But the one big problem they had last year was they couldn't protect Shador Sanders. Like, he got sacked more times than any other quarterback in the nation. They need an offensive line and they need one in a hurry. And they just happened to get a recruit in this cycle, in the high school recruiting cycle. And he had a very explosive entry interview, taking shot at a lot of people. He's got Dion ego, but we're talking obviously about the offensive tackle Jordan Seaton. He's 6'5", 285 pounds. Already, he's the highest offensive tackle. He got a straight 100 rating here. He's like the perfect recruit coming out of high school. People saying he's going to be generational, the next type. And from what's been said, he's going to be starting day one, protecting the blind side of Shador Sanders there in Colorado. And you're going to see a lot of him with Arizona State in the Big 12. But huge expectations for this guy. And so far, delivering on everything. Like, everybody loves him, and he will be a day one starter as a high school recruit.
Yeah. Last year, two things, like say, that Colorado couldn't do. Couldn't run the football, couldn't keep Shador Sanders upright, and it all came back on the O-line. So what did they do? They basically told their O-line, everyone this year, like, pack your bags, take a hike. And they basically said, we're just going to replace the whole O-line, didn't they? Brought in loads of transfers, which were solid, and then picked up the top high school offensive tackle in the nation. And you're right. There's a fine line between cocky and, like I say, got a chip on your shoulder. I'm going to say he's firmly in the cocky camp, and he's made that Deion Sanders mold, and they probably love that, like you say. And for me, if he lives up to expectations, honestly, I wouldn't care about his attitude, if it's good, if it's bad, if it stinks, if it's rotten, if he's going to taunt guys, if he's going to be that kind of guy. Yeah, I think offensive tackle is where you can afford that streak. Actually, you need it. And if Shador is going to live up to that next year's potential top 10 draft pick, it starts this year. And it means like someone's got to keep him upright, because he can't achieve everything he wants to achieve this year if he's on his backside. And I like Shador. Like you say, I'm a believer in the talent there. And I think the Colorado team can go into the Big 12 and potentially cause a bit of stir. But they're going to have to do it running the ball, because everyone in the Big 12 runs the ball. And they'd run it bloody damn well. The Buffs ain't doing that. So like I said, they need to work on that offensive line, bring in some talent. And yeah, I do believe they can have success, but it's going to be coming in the trenches. So yeah, I think Seaton's a great pickup. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how he gels in there and how he gets on with Deion Sanders. Will they clash or will they gel? I saw the Sanders as well. They brought in it was the ex-NFL player they just brought onto their coaching staff.
Oh God, yeah, no, you don't do this. I saw it the other day. It's another Hall of Famer, isn't it? They've just got they're
Yeah.
loaded with staff there. So
I've forgotten the name, yeah, but yeah, I saw like apparently it's a gimmick. It could be a disaster.
yeah, absolutely great. But yeah, he's a true freshman. He's a young man. He's going to start day one. So Jordan Seaton, remember the name, the Colorado Buffs. I think they're going to start him at left tackle, but you will see him on either side of the line. Dude's going to be an absolute wrecking machine this year. In terms of, let's flip it on the defensive side of the ball. One college got the highest rated recruit at 3 positions on defense, at linebacker, at cornerback, at safety. You want to have a guess who it was, Rye? It's the obvious answer.
The Bulldogs?
Yeah, Georgia. So Ellis Robinson, the fourth at cornerback. He is the second highest rated prospect in the nation behind Jeremiah Smith. He's 6'1", 185 pounds, comes in at corner for the Bulldogs. Then the 10th highest ranked player in this recruiting class, Justin Williams, the linebacker. He's 6'2", 205. And then just to round it off, nice and early in this draft, at number 15, KJ Bolden, the 6 foot, 187 pounds safety out of Buford. All 5-star prospects, all ranked up. And I mean, like, the rich get richer here. Like KJ Bolden especially, I've seen his tape in high school. And like these guys, they're just so dominant, and they're coming into a defense that doesn't need these guys to start right away. But you're looking at 3 already future NFL guys here if their trajectories go right.
Yeah, that too. Like say a couple of these guys, they look ready made to just slot in, where the likes of Tyke, Bullard, guys like that are just leaving, like the gaps, the holes. Like I say, these just walk right into them. Like I say, and like I say, see if Williams linebacker can you rush the passer. Like I say, they usually get him in that mold, don't they? They get back because usually they can play on the edge, get sacks, and drop into coverage. That's how they like them. They like them versatile. So we'll see if they fit into that mold. But yeah, honestly, right now, Georgia, it's DBU, isn't it? Like I say, they don't all do well in draft, but the fact that they just send them and they're in the draft, like I say, they're always at the combine, they're always at the pro days, the Georgia defensive backs. It's just a plethora of riches. And there's a reason that the Georgia DB coaches became the Syracuse head coach, because they just said, you just work with so much talent. You've got a knack for just doing so well with young defensive minds. Like I say, we want you to coach our whole program and maybe bring some of them with you. And that's credit and a testament to how well they recruit defensive backs. Not many better do it better than the Bulldogs. Again, the kids at high school. The safety class in general, I think at high school this year, from what I've seen on 3 and Rivals, it's supposed to be like up there with like some of the best in many years.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Michigan, you will not be surprised to hear their top four recruits this year: offensive tackle, cornerback, defensive line. Like that's just Michigan at this point. As Brent said in the chat, they need DBs to protect against all these OSU wide receivers and the quarterbacks, etc. And then they build through the trenches. Nothing is going to change with Jim Harbaugh gone. Sharon Moore is going to continue to pound that rock through there, but a lot of exciting talent to see next year. And I say a lot of these guys going to be starters. So let's move on to spring training. And as I say, we're in that part of the year now where teams, this is where you get the first looks of some guys. This is where you start to see guys maybe start to break out, transfers start to upset the apple cart, as it were. And I know you, Rai, you've been keeping an eye on some of the quarterbacks because a lot of quarterbacks move in the portal now. It felt like I don't know how many did, but it felt like at least 40% of the starters in college moved last year, like here, there, and everywhere. Even Ohio State's moved to a different program, and they're all over the place. So I think there'll be a lot of new starting gigs this year, a lot of players at new teams. Who's been catching your eye in springtime?
So, according to recent reports, the quarterback to watch, one of the quarterbacks to watch out for this year is Brock Vandagriff. So the Georgia transfer that's gone over to Kentucky, 6'3", 210. He's coming into his like third and a half, fourth year, but he's played one game in his career where he went 12 of 18, 165 and 2 touchdowns. And that is it, a former 5-star, but apparently he could be taking the SEC by storm this year. People think he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He's got the size, he's got the tools, he's also got the knowledge and understanding of how many Georgia quarterbacks has he sat behind, how many years has he been with Kirby Smart, and he thinks that they could be a real dark horse, the Wildcats, this year, led by Brock, who will be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, maybe in the nation. It could be a guy to watch out for. Is it the Doak Walker? I always forget the quarterback award.
Oh no, the running back. It's the I can't remember the quarterback one of it.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
we could be cynical and say Heisman. That's
yeah.
become the quarterback award.
Yeah. But Brock, yeah, he could have a real chance. Like I say, a lot of people won't give Kentucky chances, and they've got a solid wide receiver core. They always kind of do. They have weapons on the outside. So I've got a feeling that Brock, like I say, I don't know, it could be interesting. Like I say, I know they've got Carson Beck, like I say, but will any of them regret letting Brock leave? And a lot of the teams out there will probably regret not bringing him in because it was a later transfer. I don't know how much teams showed him interest, but for someone that's vastly experienced and got a lot of knowledge, just absolutely no experience really in game because he was just never called upon because he just stayed so healthy and played so well. Yeah, I can see him being someone that comes in straight away, puts everyone on notice. And I'm pretty sure next year he's draft eligible. Like I say, it'd be a bit odd if he went after 1 year because he's got 3 years under his belt. This would be his 4th year in college. But yeah, like I said, quarterbacks, like I said, they've had Will Levis, was Devin Leary, like I said, now Brock Vandagriff. So, but they do think he could be the best in most recent years.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that team. I agree. Brock is a really good build. You just look at him and he sort of screams out quarterback build. And like I say, that Kentucky team, they're just in that sort of middle where they needed a steady guy. Obviously, they had the 1 year guy last year with Devin Leary. Like he's come, he's gone. But I agree. Sometimes these quarterbacks get log jammed at the top franchise. I would not be surprised to see him
Yeah.
to see him do well at all.
The other one, so a very interesting one happened at the start of the portal. So Reese Pothenbarger, the Albany Great Danes quarterback who led the FCS last year in yards and touchdowns and took a 3-11 team to an 11-4 in the semi-final of the playoffs. Like I say, he went in his career for 2 years at Albany, 449 of 760, 56 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, just under 6,000 yards, 24 games. And he decided this year to transfer to Miami. Like I say, so he is the Hurricanes quarterback. And as of right now, I'm pretty sure he's penciled in as the backup to Cam Ward. He is battling with Ja'Cory Brown. Apparently, it's a very even battle. One of them is going to be the backup to Cam Ward, but not just now, but like I say, Cam Ward obviously be hitting the draft for sure in 2025. Reese is only a sophomore. He's only 6'1" and 210, but he's very polished. He's a dual threat athlete. He has got a great arm. And last year, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the whole nation. So looking long term, he's looking at winning a starting job for next year. And if anything happens to Cam Ward this year, he wants to be the guy that steps in and beats out Jacory Brown to be the guy that comes in of relief for him. I think, like saying some blowouts or like say if Cam picks up anything, I can see Reese getting some playing time for the Hurricanes this year. Like I said, I really think it'd be worth throwing him in and see what he does. So he is a very interesting prospect to watch this year. He's one of the only ones that was able to make the jump up from the say FCS to the FBS. But he went before Cam Ward declared. So obviously he was there first, and then Cam decided not to go to the draft and go to the Hurricanes, which I did find very interesting, and I wasn't super high on that decision, if I'm honest. So yeah, interesting quarterback mix going on down in Miami. And then the final one this is the wild card. So everyone knows Malachi Nelson, I'd say former Trojan, was a 5-star quarterback coming freshman. He was the second best quarterback in California and the 5th in class in 2022. Had offers from Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan before going to the Trojans last year. But after just 1 year, like I say, entered the portal. Like I say, sat behind Caleb Williams at 6'3", 190, a bit slender. Now redshirt freshman. Didn't see anything last year. Like I say, even in blowout wins, didn't come on. Like I say, he didn't even get any relief. And I feel like he got frustrated by that. I don't think he gelled or clicked with the offense. And yeah, made the interesting decision this year to transfer to Boise State. I'd say one of the most shocking moves of the whole portal. We'll have had a plethora of Power 5 lineups. Power 5 offers just stacked up. Like kids from Cali always get big offers because, like I say, they come with a really high thing. But yeah, no, he will be replacing Green, the 6'6" quarterback, like I say, departed Boise last year. Like I say, led them back to a good season at the end. But yeah, this one either goes terrible and he's in the portal again in a year, or he takes the Mountain West by storm and he becomes the next G5 star and goes on to lead the Broncos to getting them back to domination and ends up being a first-round draft pick. I'm not sure about the fit. Big Cali kid, like say, sleepy Boise, Idaho. Like say, they do things a little bit differently there, but the talent's there. He's got the frame. He needs to bulk it up. Can he do it in the Mountain West? Like say, everyone thought it was going to be the next best thing, and next thing he knows, he's playing in Albertson Field on some blue turf. It could I think it could humble him quite quickly, could this move, like I say, because he is not going to be working with all that 5-star talent he was for the Trojans. So for me, that's the biggest transfer to watch, because for him, it feels like a massive risk. And for them, I believe that's their greatest ever portal pickup. Like I say, talking 5-star. Is it going to be a match made in heaven, or in a year will he be putting his name back in the hat and going somewhere else, and then with his tail between his legs because he couldn't get it done at a G5, and then everyone's doubting him? I guess we'll see, but he's part of the top 3 quarterbacks I'm watching, and the other one's not a transfer, and I can't ever say his name, so I'll just say Nico I at Tennessee.
Oh, Iamaleava.
Iamaleava, yeah. He could be the best redshirt freshman in the whole country this year. People are saying, like, say, he can just bomb it 60, 70 yards. Very much like the quarterback he just passed, Joe Milton. Everyone's saying Nico's got the strongest arms in the nation, and he's looking the most priority. I am really excited to watch what he does at Tennessee this year. Honestly, I feel like he could, if he lives up to potential, they could be a kind of outlier to make the playoffs. Like I said, that's how good people think Tennessee could be this year. The Vols underneath him. So, yeah. There's some very interesting, all these transferring young quarterbacks this year. Like I say, it's going to be very hectic.
Yeah, I mean, like that Boise State one, it's like been akin to a championship team over here putting in a bid for Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime, and then thinking, oh, he's never going to come here. And it's like, oh, actually, you know what? I'll come here. You don't get that happen very often. Like, say, as a former 5-star guy, probably, we could have had a good shot at getting the starting job this year at USC. Now that Caleb Williams has gone, and no, he has transferred down. So I'm with you. That is a huge one to watch. But I'm kind of glad you mentioned USC quarterbacks, because this segues nicely into one of the sort of biggest developing stories in spring training so far in college football world. And this does concern the Big Ten because USC are making the move over next year. So if you're a fan of a Big Ten team, you're going to be seeing the USC Trojans next year. So, with Malachi Nelson going, Miller Moss, he was meant to be the next guy. I know you've chatted a little bit about him before, but he's meant to be the guy. He's the heir apparent now that Malachi Nelson's gone. But then a very intriguing transfer happened during portal season. So we've got to go back to the Mountain West. And UNLV freshman quarterback Jaden Maeva, who took it to the team last year. Their starter, Doug Blumfield, got injured. He comes in as a freshman, has a really good freshman season. He is Mountain West. He's the reigning Mountain West freshman of the year winner. I mean, he threw 224 of 353. It's a 63.5% completion percentage, which for a freshman, really damn good. He had 3,085 yards, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, passer rating of 147, which, for a freshman, very respectable figures indeed. He had a high-profile transfer to Georgia lined up. But then 24 hours later, he flipped his commitment to USC, and everyone wondered, well, why? Because, going to Georgia would have been hard enough already, but going to USC, that's going to be very hard for him to establish himself. He's a group of 5 quarterback coming up there against Miller Moss, who is a very highly rated recruit, widely expected to start there. But Maeva's gone into spring training, and the one thing he has over Miller Moss is starting experience, and that is apparently showing all over when it comes to, because there's a big difference between being a backup quarterback and being a starter in college, isn't there? You lead, team meetings, practice sessions, all this sort of stuff. You've got to be prepared and ready for that. Miller Moss won't have done that much before. Jaden Maeva has, and apparently he's waltzed into that building and immediately taken a big leadership role in that team. He's showing out really well, and the inexperienced Miller, they're saying this is a real quarterback battle at this moment in time, and Jaden Maeva could win this starting gig going into year one of them in the Big Ten. And this is a big year for Lincoln Riley because, let's say it brutally honest, he's sucked so far at USC. With all the talent he's had at his disposal, to not even come close to sniffing that conference is a massive failure on his part. And he's got to set his stack early next year and show that they're in the higher pecking order of the Big Ten. But Maeva's coming in and threatening Miller Moss, right? This is very interesting days for USC.
Yeah, and it's funny for them, like I say, because I know Miller Moss was like a 4-star, like you say, but it's not often the Trojans go into a season, like you say, and we're already nearly in, like you say, May, and they don't know who will be on the centre. Like I say, you go back all these years, and it kind of feels like when one season ends going to next year, they kind of know who the guy is. The offensive coordinator can already sit down and start working with them, like drafting up a playbook together. But it feels wide open. Like I say, Miller Moss came in relief, didn't he? I believe a few times. Like I say, played all game. And he did play, I remember, incredibly well.
The bowl game, he was amazing.
Yeah. But that's a bowl game, isn't it? Like I say, how much can we read into a bowl game? For me, I don't read into a bowl game too much because, like I say, it's kind of like a preseason friendly, almost. Like you say, it's a free hit for a lot of teams to try and beat a bigger team. The bigger teams want to go out there and, like I say, play their dominance. I look at the body of work of Maeva and I am more impressed. Like I say, all that, everything he's did for a whole season to walk into a team as a freshman and command an offense. Like I say, to make it his own, to be respected, to be the locker room guy, to break them in, break them out, get to know a coordinator, get to know offensive coach. He is going into the Trojans for me with much more momentum than Miller Moss. And it's one of those things, like I say, it's the best issue to have. It's 2 quarterbacks going hung-ho, and whoever wins the job, you feel safe and happy they've got it. But yeah, there won't be many top Power 5 battles that are probably this hotly contested between now and the start of the season. And that is a credit to, like I say, the group of 5 for getting Jordan ready for this, putting him in a position to do well, and then watch him go flourish. And they can say, well, We did that. We got him ready for that. And like I say, wouldn't have been able to do that without what we got here. Yeah, but Lincoln Riley this year, if things go south quickly or he don't deliver for me, I'd bin him. Like I say, I pull the plug on Lincoln Riley end of this year, depending on what happens. It's a make or break here. Milamos, we'll see what his nerve is like. If he's beaten out, does he do a Tate Martell? Does he cry, run away, tuck his tail between his legs and transfer? And be like, I don't like this. This was supposed to be my gig. Or does he stay all year? Does he take his medicine, be a good backup, be a good teammate, be ready to step in if needs be, and then win the job in future? Usually, we've seen in recent years it's normally the earlier than it is the latter, especially with a lot of guys like times like, oh, I don't have time to waste. I can't afford to be a backup anymore. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes down. Like I said, two very young players. One's got a lot more experience than the other. One's got an unknown ceiling. One of them, like I say, we've just seen like play some brilliant stuff, but against lesser opposition. Can that step up in talent? It probably doesn't fear him in the slightest. So yeah, like I say, whoever wins the job, they've got a job on their hands to get the Trojans where they need to be. It's not easy, like I say, because it's been hard and they expect to win pretty soon. So yeah, I'm intrigued by them too.
Put it this way, if Jaden Mayeva's under centre for USC next year playing in the Big Ten, they will have me as a fan. I've been calling them frauds for years, but I love that UNLV team, what they did there. He's been great. I was upset when he left, but if he gets a starting job there, that would be great. And like these things, these have a domino effect because I learned the other day that one of the new prospective starters at UNLV now he's gone is Matthew Sluka. And you know all about him, the Holy Cross. Like he ran for 1,300 yards last year. He had like 300 yards in a game. He threw for 1,700 yards. He's going to join the go-go offense down there, which he's going to be absolutely perfect for. Like that could be another breakout if you're looking for breakouts. These dominoes fall and you get some really intriguing bits left in their place.
I fully expect Matthew to win that starting job. You don't go years at Holy Cross without making the playoffs multiple times, winning multiple Patriot League titles, and rushing for nearly 5,000 yards at quarterback and throwing God knows how many touchdowns. By far one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the FBS. Like I said, people just don't know it yet because they just don't know who he is. I do. Like I said, and I fully expect him. Like I say, he ain't got a lot of eligibility left, but I expect he's going to make this year count. And I think he will lead a very explosive offense. What they're going to see, what he does, like I say, his arm's good. He can't be great, but his footwork and what he can do with his legs is way better. And I fully hope that Matthew gets that job and gets his chance to show what he can do. Because, like I say, if he does well this year, like I say, and people start to take up a notice FBS, you're talking maybe a day 3 draft pick in 2025. Like I say, you're talking a guy that will go from an undrafted free agent to, oh, he's going to get a combine invite. Why? Because he might run a 4.5. Like you say, his cone drills will be really good because, like I say, he's got the footwork of a ballerina. So yeah, he's someone, like I say, that he's trying to put things together. And yeah, Jordan leaving has really opened the door for Matthew. And I really hope he does get a chance at some point this year with his turning pro just on the like the precipice.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be a
Huge
fun
loss for
team to
Holy Cross.
watch. Yeah.
Holy Cross lost basically everyone. Like I said, Jalen Coker went to the draft. Half their whole line went. Like I say, it's hard being in the Patriot League because, like I say, you don't get that 5th or 6th year. Like I say, you kind of have to transfer for like 4th year, but everyone should win. So yeah, but yeah, I'm very excited for some of these like FCS quarterbacks.
Yeah, indeed. We're talking about quarterbacks. Well, obviously another quarterback is going to the draft this year, local to Detroit. And JJ McCarthy, his era at Michigan is over. They are natty champions, but in his wake, probably one of the most uncertain battles at any Power Five program going into next season. Michigan, it's a five-way battle between new guys and old. So at the minute, they have seventh year grad transfer Jack Tuttle. He's in his second year there. You've got sophomore, and I don't want to ruin his name, but it's Alex Orji. I call him Orgy for now, but I think it'll be different. You've got sophomore Jaden Denegall, you've got junior Davis Warren, and of course you've got brand new true freshman Jaden Davis, who is he was one of the best quarterbacks in this class. Then his rating took a little bit of a hit. I think he was in sort of territory with Air Noland, who's also gone to Ohio State, another quarterback they've got there, but he seems to be the one that's been garnering the most interest. He's the dual threat guy. He's kind of doing the JJ McCarthy role for Michigan last year when JJ McCarthy was behind Cade McNamara. So kind of seems to be how they work the way in. But like this is a wide open job here, and even spring training might not sort this out for them. They've got a lot of deciphering to do of the quarterback position.
That's not a good thing, is it? That does not fill me with confidence at all. I would not want a 3, 4, 5-way battle for my starting job as a quarterback. Like you say, following JJ McCaffrey's footsteps and what that team did last year. I mean, Michigan fans, be realistic. I know you've got the run game, the quarterback game. It's not going to be the same this year. Like I say, none of these guys for me are JJ. Like I say, total, tons of experience, but for me, you just ain't it. So I'd probably rule him out straight away. Like I say, I think a new new head coach, you kind of want to put your own stamp on the team, which means you probably see one of the new faces winning the job, if anything, given the chance. But I suppose they get the benefit of having a great offensive line. Still, always a great run game. I know talented plethora of core, but yeah, I'm not sure about the Wolverines this year. Like I say, it's going to primarily fall on the quarterback position. I think of quite a few quarterbacks could end up playing this year. In the earlier weeks or against some of the smaller sides, like I say, you're really going to have to throw them all in and see what you've got of all of them. But yeah, right now, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the second or third year guys is one of the guys in front, or even, like say, a straight up freshman, redshirt freshman. So yeah, I would have thought they'd have pushed harder for someone in the portal.
I mean,
they must have tried, but
it is not a friendly schedule for them this year. So in the non-cons, you're at home to Texas, and then your first game in the Big Ten is USC. So and then you're at Washington 2 weeks later. So you kind of got to make your decision quick about this. Like Texas, we know what they're bringing to the fire. This is, Quinn Ewers is back once again. Arch Manning is biting at his heels, waiting to get his big opportunity. Everyone's waiting to see Arch play. USC, they've got a two-way battle. They'll have it ready. Washington kind of don't know what's going on there, but it's a tough schedule to open the year. Last year was a cakewalk for them. This year, they've got to figure it out quick.
Yeah, it's going to be a baptism by fire. Like I said, they're getting thrown straight into it. Like I say, you're talking about two teams straight away there that were in contention to win the night last year. Like I say, and I applaud them. Like I say, this is a really hard schedule. This is going to be the best of the best going into, like I say, their conference. So it's going to be really fun to watch. But yeah, realistically, it'll be in like say first week and a half of the season. You've got to settle on a quarterback. Like I say, that Washington game, you really need to know what's going on by then. Like I say, because you've played 2 games by then. Like I say, and you need to really hit the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of finish off the quarterback chatter. There's one, we've not seen him in a year, but out of spring training, very good reports coming out about him. Cam Rising, he's back for Utah. They desperately, desperately missed him last year, but going into the Big 12, apparently he's more mobile now. He's back to 100%. He is playing very well. And, a Utah team with him under center and that defense is a Big 12 title challenger possibly, but it's good to see him back and playing well again after such a horrendous injury.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd see him. To be honest, I thought it probably would have just left when it happened. I thought just bite the bullet and declare. Like I say, he's coming back. Like I say, now they're very exhausting the very last of the eligibility. Like I say, last year, I always thought Bryson Barnes sucked. Like I say, it ruined a good Utah team, and then I say loads of talent has gone. And it felt like last year was a missed opportunity. This year, like I said, they've still got plenty of talent, but yeah, I don't know many teams that really rely on the quarterback so heavily, and we're going to see probably just how good again they can be this year. But yeah, as a pro, it kind of feels like that's tailed off like him ever playing in the NFL, if I'm honest. Like I say, he's come back this year because he obviously feels like he's got unfinished business and it's redemption. He wants the chance to go out on his own terms. Like I say so. But yeah, a good Utah team is a team that can win the Big 12. Like I say, they can go against, for me, like I say, straight up Texas and Oklahoma State. Like I say that they'll be like some of the favourites. I'd like to think they compete here. For me this year, the Big 12 is the most wide open. I think it's going to be by far the most interesting Power Five conference with who they've brought in, with who like how interesting it was last year. I think the Big 12 is going to be super fun this year to watch.
You think of the quarterbacks alone coming. Noah Fafita's coming. Shador Sanders is coming. Cam Rising's coming. I dread to say who's starting under center for Arizona State this year.
Well, Jaden Rashard is still there, so he's a four-star. So like it could still be
We
him,
can
but
throw it in there. Yeah, we can throw it in there. The big influx of QB talent going into the Big 12. There, anyhow, let's maybe talk about some of the guys outside of quarterback who've been doing really well in spring training. And the one big name that's been mentioned, and we're going to get this out there to you now because give it a month or two when the season starts getting close, and Ash will start talking about him repeatedly because he's a Florida State fan. So let's get the plug in for Florida State right now. But we know they tack the portal better than anybody. You think of all the portal talent they've got over the years. They're one of the best teams at picking guys out, and they took this year Indiana running back slash kick returner slash punt returner Jalen Lucas, who was in his first year there. He had 600 yards on punt returns last year. He had 300 on the ground, couple of touchdowns, just starting to work his way into the team. But we know the kind of halfback that Florida State they always have good running backs on their roster. They've picked up a guy before he's about to break out, and by all accounts, one of the best spring training of any player in the nation. This guy, and he's coming into a system that's going to utilize him perfectly. The running backs they use to return the ball a lot. They run ground and pound all the time. Especially now, Jordan Travis is gone, and they're going to have a new quarterback in who they're probably going to want to take the load off a bit, but Jalen Lucas, he's the potential to be one of the most exciting players in the country next year if he breaks out for them, and he's showing it in training.
yeah, it's a good fit. It's a good move for him. Trey Benson's gone. Let's say John Travis is gone. That means, like I say, incumbent quarterback. What's their best friend? A run game. Jalen Lucas is going to have as many touches as he wants. And like I said, then to also have the durability and a team that is got the balls to risk their star weapon also on special teams. Like say you roll a gamble, like say with him getting hurt, if you're able to give him 15, 20 carries and then give him all the special teams returns, like say he's going to just chew up yardage. Like say, and he's going to be able to dig him some big holes with some star splashy special teams returns, as well as getting it done on the ground. Because like I say, very prolific run system, good run offensive line. Like I say, Florida State still by far going to be dominant factor where they are. Like I say, no one's coming close to them just as of right yet. So yeah, I think that's one of those where it's kind of a match made in heaven. Like I say, they're going to give him all the touches he wants where he wants them, and they've just lost some key pieces. So they need guys in ready to start straight away that can take the workload of 150, 175, 200 touches a year. If you want it, it's there to be had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that Indiana team, you don't get to see the best of them in that system because it's poor offense. He's going to go to a team now that's going to completely utilize him. So Jalen Lucas, remember the name because Ash will say it a million times on the pod next year in various forms. So there you go, getting that in early. In terms of other offensive players who've done well, so one of the more intriguing ones, and this is another high school recruit coming in, but Cam Coleman. So he's wide receiver. He was committed to Texas A&M, and they fired Jimbo Fisher, and then he decommitted, and then he got picked up by none other than Auburn. And this is the second highest wide receiving recruit in this class in the nation. He was like a 99 out of 100 on 24/7. And they've picked him up to go with Peyton Thorne. He is 6'3", £188, and they have like relentlessly tried to recruit this guy because Oban, the one thing they've needed for a long time is a playmaker, and this could potentially be the guy who does it on the outside. But another, he is big, fast. He has got a really good understanding of routes already, which you can see from his training. And like Peyton Thorne's under centre there, you wonder whether that's a good career move for him. But again, this is another high school guy who's going to threaten to break out right away.
Yeah, I think this is one of those that it's a team that is crying out in it for some explosive talent, somewhere where you just get the ball in the hands, like say short, intermediate, and then just go do your thing. Keep it simple for him. Like you say, don't give him too much too soon. Don't overcomplicate things or fill him with too much jargon. Like you say, ease him in, and then like you say, let him get a feel for it, and then yeah, kind of let him run away with it. Like you say, and he could become the focal factor and really help it. Like I say, because the last few years not been overly kind to Peyton Thorne, have they? Like I say, not through his own, some of it like his own fault, some of it picking up knocks, but yeah, he needs it. He needs a guy he can trust. And like you say, he's putting a lot of faith in a young man. But it could be it. Like you say, it could be someone that comes in and just takes the world by storm. There's not a lot of pressure on him.
No, but I mean, look what a receiver can do for the fortunes of a quarterback. Look at Luther Burden last year, true freshman, one of the highest recruits in the nation. And look at what Brady Cook did with him. I mean, we weren't talking about Brady cooking low in terms last year. Kind of the opposite, kind of like where's things going with him. All you need is that one great receiver to help you break out. This could be the pairing this year, Peyton Thorne and Coleman.
Yeah. Like you say, without Luther Burden, would anyone have been talking about breakup last year? Frankly, I don't think they would have. Like I say, it's an equal partnership, but usually it kind of weighs a bit heavier on one side than it does another. Like I say, but yeah, I'd like to think that he can lift Peyton Thorne and kind of become a security blanket. Quarterbacks that are struggling need a security blanket, don't they? Someone that they can rely on to know they will be there where I need them on time, where I expect them to be. And if I put it there, there's a good chance they'll catch it. And that's kind of what he's relying on right now. Like I say, because Thorne, he's running out of time. Like I say, he's probably hoping this is going to be his last year in college. So it could do with a splashy playmaker to make him look good, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's all you need, isn't it? Sometimes it just takes that one little piece, gets you there. Obviously, Missouri had Cody Schrader in that to help out. He rushed for God knows how many yards. He's going to go in the draft this year, but you need these guys in the team. Again, it's good to see. If you break out open, maybe you're gone in a year, but again, this is one of the highest recruited wide receivers in the nation. Going to be exciting to see this year. In terms of other guys who've really had good spring practices that broken up. We've got BYU this time. We know BYU what they're about. They've got a new tight end on the block, Reiner Swanson. This guy's huge. He's like 6'5". He's a Cali native, but we know better than anything, right? These, Isaac Rex is just coming out the draft this year. Tight end's gone. Rinse and reload at these positions for BYU. You know what the kind of guy they go for. They're tall, they're big, they're mean, and Reiner Swanson is he looks like the next guy in this system there. They just plug trench guys like there's no man's business.
Yeah. One thing BYU, like say, it was it 2 or 3 years ago, Matt Bushman, then Isaac Rex. One thing do they want from their tight ends? You've got to be able to block. If you can't block, you don't get catches. And they make some nasty blocking tight ends to BYU that can also then split out into the slot and catch passes. Like I say, and he will follow in that mold where, first of all, he's an anchor on the defensive line, like I say, because they want to run the ball, and then also get them open in space. So, yeah, BYU do like a good tight end. And like I say, they usually pick up some good ones later on.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of most of the guys. So again, we're sort of really early in the spring training process at the moment, but those are kind of the most ones who stood out so far. As say, once we're back from our break during draft season, spring training, we will we will cover in a lot more details all the games, and you can do some more in-depth things. We can have a look at some of the stories, some of the positional battles that have been settled. Yeah, that is. Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to? Any other players that have sort of impressed you so far, and anything else you want to mention in terms of what's going on with these teams? Because as I say, yeah, spring is setting in.
So for me, I don't ever like to say this about a player, but for this, I've got one player, and it's make or break for them. 2 years ago, 2022, top 25 player nationally out of high school, Denver Harris. Everyone remembers the corner, went to Texas A&M, one of the best recruits ever got. Didn't work. Last year, went to LSU, barely played, didn't work. And like I say, transferred again. And where is he at? He's a UTSA Roadrunner now, isn't he? A former 5-star corner. Now, this has got to be it for me. Like, if it don't go well for him this year, it kind of feels like college football won't be for him. If it's third team in third year, like I say, he was one of the best and highest recruits. He could be an absolute stud pickup for the Roadrunners. They've been super good in the portal this year. Denver Harris is the one defensive player I'm looking to prove me wrong this year. I've got his name circled, and I'm going to be looking for him in every Roadrunners game. But he has the potential to be a lockdown, shutdown corner. Like I say, for them, like I say, that kind of feels like the Malachi Nelson move, like I say, where he's had to take a little bit of humble pie, like I say, after whatever's happened there, and drop down to the Power Five. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him and how they use him.
Yeah, and I completely forgot that happened. As soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, oh, God, yeah, I remember these. But yeah, I will always keep a close eye on UTSA, so it will be interesting there. Of course, they new quarterback this year, Frank Harris. He's done in college. He's done so. I believe it's Owen McCown who's taken over there. He took over a little bit last year. I remember this because I've just done my draft profile on Josh Cephas, and he's worked with him there. But yeah, that is everything really from us now in terms of like spring training. I say there's not been that much so far, so we've dipped into what we can, but we want to do something a little bit different with the draft on the horizon. Obviously, 3 weeks today, the draft opens, and Detroit will have its new stars of the future. It is going to be great. If there's anything draft related you want to ask us before we get off the air today, then please do so. I'll just go through all the other shows and that we're doing first. Get the end housekeeping out the way, and then if there's anything you want to ask, it's all opened up there. So in terms of our next shows, Monday. So that's the 8th of April. That'll be our main podcast. It'll be our Detroit Lions 7-round mock draft for the 2024 NFL draft. So all of us will be getting together. We will be presenting our drafts, our final ones. Obviously, you've seen a little bit of what me and Ryan have done already, but we're going to be putting it in ink now. So yeah, come join us for that. Going to be good fun. And then, of course, the week after, we'll do the much harder first round mock draft. Like all told, that's going to be crazy. So I don't even know what I'm going to do for that yet. It's such a topsy-turvy draft this year. As for next week, me and Rye will be back. And as I say, it will be the season 3 finale. I can't believe it's come round already, but we've done 3 years of college football. It's been insane. So me and Ryan are going to be engaging in a special draft challenge entitled Rise Against the Machines. So come and join us for that. It's going to be really good fun. And then we'll take a little hiatus during draft season. And then we'll be back in May when we'll start up with all the conference previews and all that good stuff. And we've got a lot of stuff planned for next season. So I will go through that with you all next week. Let's just kind of go in there. Mark Marker goes, hi Lisa, I'm listening to these sharp guys getting some education. Hey, appreciate that, Mark Marker. Glad you enjoy the show. We wouldn't have done this for so long if you didn't enjoy it. So really appreciate that. Mark Marker goes, I went and watched the highlights of Louis Rees-Zammit, England versus Wales. You recommended. Impressive. Oh, we can talk about that very briefly until Matt gets here, right? We've Rees-Zammit signed with the Chiefs, hasn't he? So we've now got, well, I say Welsh. I recommended the England-Wales games as well because we usually beat them, but it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. What did he get? A 3-year deal? So every chance he could catch on there.
Yeah, and they have a need for quarterback though. I mean, they've got a need for receiver, hasn't they? Because like I said, they were rolling with what last year? Justin Watson, like I say, who's Like I say, they've lost some guys. Like I say, Rasheed Rice could be in trouble. They brought in, like I say, Marquise Hollywood Brown on a 1 year deal. There's a glaring hole, and he could be there to capitalise on it. And like I say, he's getting Andy Reid. Like, what a great head coach for such a young guy just trying to find his way. I expect them to give him every chance possible.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing because again, a lot more rugby guys are apparently wanting to take this route now. So you
Apparently, they
may
got three
see.
offers. All of them are like $900,000+, like all guaranteed. Like
Yeah.
they were throwing money at him. These teams. He is going to be the. I think the kickers will be the most productive and do the best, but I think he could be the gem of this IPP class.
Oh yeah, special teams is always going to be the way in. Like, there's a load of Irish guys got across this year who've done kicking, who've done pro days and stuff like that. So you may start to see those guys go in there. In fact, I have had a question on Twitch, and I apologize for kind of ignoring Twitch. I've tried to switch between both, but this is kind of an early one. We do prediction shows for college football for the season beforehand, but just sort of given where it's at the minute, who's left, Lost Oceans goes, and we need another Washington to the playoffs type prop bet this year. This one made me some money. I'm glad it did. So appreciate that. But like, because I said Washington to the playoffs this year quite early in the process, thinking they were going to do it. Are there any teams maybe who you fancy to threaten the top four seeds? Maybe a conference winner who people are not thinking about, who you would put up as an early recommendation for a prop bet for next year to make the playoffs?
I think the Ole Miss Rebels. I think it clicks. Yeah, I think it clicks this year for Lane Kiffin. He's recruited super hard. They're great in the portal, and Jackson Dart. It could all come together for him this year. I think they could sneak into it.
Oh, oh wow. So that is a prop betting off. That is. So they've, like you say, they've had a really, obviously they lost Quidshot Junkins. Like, if he'd have stayed, like that would have just, it just feels like that's a big loss for them. Who do they have? Who was their back? Also, it was
Ulysses Bentley.
yeah,
I think he's still there. Yeah,
Ulysses Bentley. So Ulysses Bentley is good. It would have been great if he could have stayed there, but I know they nicked Chris Poole from Arkansas. Um, that's a really good one for them. But who else did they bring in? So they bought in Princely, didn't they? Uma Malin's in. The big
yeah,
one was Walter Nolan, wasn't it? He was the massive 5-star recruit from Texas A&M, who's actually
yeah.
done. He's actually done well. He's not left Texas A&M because he's been bad. I think he had 5 sacks, 10 tackles lost, something like that last year. They've really beefed up that defensive line with Princely and Walter Nolan. That could be what gets them over the line there. Oh
Yeah, I think
yeah.
the D line a bit of prejudice on. Yeah,
So who do you think out of the top four? So in the ACC, Florida State going to be reloading. Clemson, then Clemson going Cade Klubnik again this year, aren't they? So is anyone going to break that monopoly? I don't think so. Big 12. Oh, I reckon the Big 12 might be the one where the surprise comes from this year. Oh, could we say Utah? Can I say Utah? Brant Quita's back. Cameron Rising's back. They're not losing too much of that defense. You know what? That'll be my early prop bet to get to the playoffs that you might not expect. Utah. I think they just missed Cam Rising last year. So outside of that. Well, that's a very interesting question, but we will do we'll do the predictions before the season as well, all the playoff teams, etc. So we'll be able to give you a bit more in depth at the time. Ole Miss to the playoffs is -122 this early. I mean, I guess that's quite good. I can't remember. I don't know. I would have to ask Matt about that, but because I don't do the conversions. But you've got to figure they've got to be quite long. I guess with a bit of 12-team format, it's a lot easier. But I guess as conference champion, that would be a lot more. If you want Ole Miss, you reckon Ole Miss can win the SEC? Is that you going that far? Could they get in as a bye seed?
I think they can make the championship. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. He's gonna not just to make the playoffs, that is to win the SEC. So there you go. Can absolutely get behind that one. Let me just check there's nothing else in the chat there. We need to grab someone IPP practice squad, possibly. So yeah, we'll leave it at that this week. But thank you all for tuning in and joining. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a little chat about college football just to get us away from the draft monotony just a little bit. But of course, we got a lot more draft content coming your way soon. So again, join me and Ryan next week when we've got a really special draft challenge planned. That is going to be fun for the finale here. And then join us on Monday for our Detroit Lions 7-round mock drafts, which of course never cause any consternation whatsoever. Have a great weekend, everyone, coming up, and me and Ryan will see you again soon. You know where to find us, Roar of the Lions UK, all over the internet. Just type it in, you will find us, and we will see you soon. One Pride.